In this video, Warriors of the Dark Gods will fight the puny humans in the Empire. You do not want to miss this one. I'm Alex, you're watching Winterwolf Miniatures. Time for another battle report, and as the title says, it's 4,500 points of 9th Age fantasy battle. I try to do battle reports that's entertaining and has a bit of speed to them. So in the spirit of that, let's jump straight to the battle. My list today looks like this. As per usual, I put this list together just before we was about to play, and it's just things I wanted to play rather than what I necessarily think is good. The plan was, however, to have a fast and hard-hitting list that could also take some punishment, and I think I did that pretty well. The Lord is designed to run around by itself and be another threat. It's pretty tanky, but only has 3 wounds. It will, however, kill anything that goes near it. Strong missile spells and artillery might be a problem though, so I need to get him into battle as quickly as possible. The Sorcerer is pretty expensive, but it's too much fun with a Master Occultism Whale Walker to resist. He will also be fighting in the big block of warriors, and my thought was that if that block dies, the game is probably pretty much up. Anyway, Veil Walker upgrade means I can sacrifice Veil tokens to get upgrades on the spells. So those nasty spells in Occultism becomes even more nasty. I'm once again playing Manne, and today he decided to exercise his Empire troops. That usually means heavy shooting, but to be fair, this list is not that shooty. He got 2 pieces of artillery though, and that rocket launcher could be a problem. The list is pretty straightforward otherwise. 2 big blocks of troops that get buffed from pretty much everything else. Take care of the buffs and you take care of the big blocks. Straightforward, yes, but it's not as easy as it sounds. We rolled for deployment and secondary objective and got frontline clash and king of the hill. I had a big impassable object here at my side, so Manne chose the ruin to be his piece of terrain to protect. Good plan, but a douchey move. I therefore chose the pond as payback. Often in these scenarios when I have a smash-in-your-face army, I simply choose the same terrain pace. I want to be there killing his guys anyway. But in this matchup, having him be able to deploy so close to it and then just stand there buffing his whole army, I rather not. Better to try to divide his forces, hopefully making him choose between killing my guys or go for the secondary. Him having strong shooting and offensive magic, I opted to go first and dropped everything. This gives me a chance of taking out some of his things with my magic and also giving him 1 less turn to shoot. That means he can just tailor his deployment to match whatever he wants to fight, but rather that, since he can just take his time arranging that anyway. He deployed like this. He admitted that he made a couple of mistakes, like placing its rocket battery here to shoot at my lord and my chosen knights, but forgetting to give it some protection from my flayers. As spells go, I chose Hellfire, my hereditary. It's a good offensive spell, and the best about it is that you can use it in combat. On the target you are in combat with, that is. Excellent for a battle mage like this. Breath of Corruption. It's another good damage spell with lots of range, and can also be useful in close combat. Marks for Doom, obviously, to try and kill his characters. It's only range 12 if you want to target a specific dude in a unit. But I can up that to 15 with Whale Walker. His BSB and Prelate is obvious choices, but his buff mobiles are also good targets, as well as his mage. And lastly, the Grave Calls. As damage spells goes, this is pretty much how good as it gets. Strength 5, AP 2, with decent range. With Whale Walker I can get either reroll to the wound rolls or reroll on successful armor saves, or range if needed in the first turn. This is sadly the thing I have to rely on to win this match. Good magic phases and good rolls on the spells. So let's begin. Warriors turn 1. I simply move up, trying to get things in range of my Sorcerer, and the Flayers in the far right corner goes off in pursuit of the rocket launcher. Time for magic, and I toss the small Hellfire on his militias over here, to hopefully stop them from shooting my Flayers to death next turn. It goes off and I get 4 hits, but only kill 2 of them. Then the main event, the Grave Calls on his Crossbowman and his Mage. I sacrificed a Veil token for range and held my breath. Average or slightly less roll won't do against his very good Dispel roll. So no fun. Empire turn 1. He yells his orders. He has these nice markers that he uses on tournaments for clarity, so we thought we'd use them for the battle report. But we didn't remember that. He made his Imperial guards braver and his crossbowmen aim better. Then he pretty much stayed put but moved his militia into shooting range. He casted Altered Sight on his rocket battery, Truth of Time on my warriors, and Quicksilver Lash on my chosen knights. I tried to dispel it but rolled 9 against his 13. And it made 2 wounds. Then the rocket battery fired its rockets, one hitting itself, but the rest hit my guys and made another 2 wounds. The militia fires at the chariot and did a wound. The mortar killed 3 flayers, discipline 8 with reroll, but in the first attempt it's a 9. And in the second attempt it's 10, so they flee. The crossbowman kills a chosen. Warriors turn 2. The knight charges the militias to the left, they stand and shoot, but it does nothing. So the chariot charges as well. It's a long overrun into the knights in the left corner, about an 11 or so, but with 2 units with Swift Stride it's doable. We move the charges, and the Chaos Knight champion hit his head on a low branch or something, and has now a wounded ego. With maximizing, we had to place it like this, and realize the knights can't get to the Empire Knights because they leave the board before they get to the knights. That is, if the militias does not kill 1 or 2 knights, but that will probably not happen. Too bad it was the champion with 2 health points that stumbled in the forest, and not one of the other guys. This will be weird. The rest of the army does not do much, making sure the ranges for the spells is sufficient and sneak up a bit. The flayers run and whips the rocketeers with their lashes for 1 or 2 damage. Hellfire on the crossbowmen kills like 7 or so, but that's it from this magic phase. And that's not good enough. The chariot and knight kills all the militias and try to do their overrun. If the warrior knights move ahead 9 inches, they hit the board's edge and leave. And that's exactly what they did. At first glance here it might look like the chariot made it, but alas, 1 inch short. That is a bummer, because we are both agility 4, so the one who charges strikes first. Empire turn 2. He charges my chariot and moves up his spearmen, trying to bait me into charging him, but he still has both of the buff mobiles in range, so that will not happen. He casts Truth of Time on my chosen knights and Altered Sight on the rocket battery. He then shoots my chosen lord with it, and I failed my armor save, ward save, and it died. We thought. But after a quick check in the armor book, we confirmed that the beast he rides gave 2 additional armor points, not just 1, so he made it. Whew. The rest of the shooting didn't do anything interesting. A wound on the chosen and 1 dead warrior, I believe. In the melee phase, the knights failed to kill the chariot after a very bad hit roll. Warriors turn 3. No charges, because I'm not a complete fool. The flayers whipped the rocketeers again, and this time they died. The chosen lord marched up on his flank, followed by the Forsaken one, and the chosen knight marched out from his line of sight towards the ruin to claim the secondary. Oh yeah, and my flayers rallied last turn, so I put them here, in his face. I successfully cast the Grave Calls with reroll to past armor tests on the closest buff wagon. I get 15 with Master, and he rolled 14 with Crystal Ball, so it was a close one. I misfired on 3s and takes a hit on the unit, but it does nothing. The buff mobile had no such luck. Takes 7 unsaved wounds. And it was reduced to a big gaping hole in his battle line. That's a whole bunch of panic tests, but he passed all of them, annoyingly. The chariot killed a knight, but was then lost. Empire turn 3, and he charges the flayers with the support units to the left here, and I held. So he charged them with his spearmen, and actually I chose to flee, because that would force him to try to charge my warriors, and he might fail that, or he makes it, but with no support. He charged my flayers again with his Imperial Guard, and then successfully redirected his charges to the Chosen and the warriors. The spearmen made it, but the Imperial Guard didn't. His knights on the left flank moved up, out of the front arc of my warriors, who appeared again last turn, and his other chariot hides from my Chosen Lord behind the hill. He got Truth of Time on his guys to be able to go first, but I let that go. It would probably not matter. I then dispelled a spell, whatever it was, but he got Quicksilver Lash on my knights, killing 1. Then his mortar killed another 1. His crossbowmen did nothing on the Chosen, and the militia killed the fleeing flayers. In the big combat, he rolled like me, pretty much, and killed the grand total of 2 warriors, and put a wound on my sorcerer. I killed a whole heap, but he was steadfast with a reroll from the BSB, so he held. Warriors turn 4. Might have gotten a bit greedy here, but at this point his Imperial Guards has no buffs from either spells, buff wagons or orders, since they have only double advanced buff active. So I charged my chosen. He get to stand and shoot with his crossbowman, and that killed 1. I charged with my warriors as well, and of course also planned to get the Forsaken one in there. The chosen made it, but not the warriors. And if you have watched any of my battle reports where I play warriors before, you might be able to guess what the Forsaken one rolled on its 3d6 random movement. Yeah, 1 inch less than it needed. And it therefore moved nowhere because it just bumps my lord. Can you see how pleased he is? Bastard. Well, he will kill my chosen, and then he can reform, and in his next turn he can charge whatever he wants. So time to clear the area. The chosen lord hides on the board's edge, and chosen knights marches away as far as they can. Oh yeah, and the knights in the left corner charge the mortar. And the flayers whip some sense into the crossbowmen. Hellfire killed a few spearmen, and I got Breath of Corruption out as well. Let's see if we can't do something about this steadfast problem. If I had made all the charges, my chosen would put all their attacks on the heroes. But since the other warriors failed, I placed them in this corner. If he makes way with his battle standard, he loses range to his spearmen. So he didn't do that, but his general moved. I killed a bunch of Imperial Guardsmen, but then he killed all my chosen. The knights destroyed the mortar and pivoted so he couldn't see them with his chariot. In this fight, he rolled better and killed a lot of warriors. Also, this armor save roll didn't help. I had 4 up armor save and rolled Yahtzee on 3s. But I also killed a lot of guys and won the fight. He is still steadfast though, but failed his roll. Twice. About time he failed the discipline roll, in my opinion. The militia saw that and fled. He ran away and I decided to follow. Better to secure those points, because my warriors is pretty much fucked either way. Since no matter what I do, they will be charged by his Imperial Guards the next turn. I caught him and now I stand here. Super. Empire turn 4. He charges his Imperial Guards, and then he found that since his general is standing in that corner, and has inspiring presence of 18 inches, he's in range for the militias to use his discipline on the rally test. So they make it, unknowingly. His knights start on their long journey to claim the secondary objective, and his mage jumps over to the state troops. His crossbowman turns to shoot at the flayers, and the Baffin Whale get up real close and personal in the knight's flank. He casts Ice on Fire on my Forsaken one, and it does a wound or 2. I dispel Quicksilver Lash, so he casts Altered Sight on his crossbowmen. They shoot the flayers and kill 3, but I pass my discipline test. The Imperial Guards kill all my warriors and turn around. Warriors turn 5. I charge his crossbowmen with my knights, and he flees. I then go and eat them with my Forsaken one. I hide my lord behind the hill, making him climb it to be able to cast any nasty spells on him. My last 2 flayers blocks the Imperial Guards from claiming the secondary here, and my warriors turn to face the knights coming from the left. No magic and no shooting, so it's Empire turn 5. He charges my flayers, and since he can't redirect to anything, I flee. But not very far. Far enough though, so he doesn't catch me. The chariot charges my knights, and his knights just move up. Magic is uneventful, and in the melee phase, the chariot kills 1 knight. And the last one flee, but is caught by the chariot. But that meant it stands on the hill now. So my plan kinda worked. Warriors turn 6. Not relying on my Forsaken one, my lord charges the chariot himself, and it flees, but not long enough. So my lord finally got to kill something. I also pivot to be unseen by the spearmen, like a true douchebag. The flayers tried to rally, but no. 11. And they found that this house was impassable, and they died trying to climb it, or something. The Forsaken one is in the Imperial Guard's flank, so if I can get to them, I might be able to hold them down a round of combat, thus securing secondary objective for myself. But he doesn't run far enough. And I don't have a picture of it, but my warriors down here just pivoted and sidestepped to be in as much of the Imperial Guard's way as possible, making their distance to the pond as far as possible. Empire turn 6. His magic and shooting killed some warriors, but not enough to get any points from them. And that's the game. But did the Empire get the secondary or not? Well, I could tell you, But I thought I'd make it a little more interesting than that. Counting the points, the conclusion is that if the Empire didn't get to the objective, the match would end in a draw, 10-10. But if they did, they would win 13-7. So this game was a really close one. Do you think they made it to the pond? It was far, but with the right order the Imperial guards can march 14 inches. Which is insane, by the way. You will find out soon enough, but first I want to thank you for watching. And thanks also to all you guys who give me nice comments on my battle report videos. It means so much knowing that you appreciate the videos. So thank you, thank you. Lastly, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't. And share it with a friend or in whatever forum you lurk. Thank you. So, did they make it or did they not make it? They made it. With millimeters to spare. Dagnabbit.